Hi everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton from the Reiki Center, and in this session, we're going to talk about what can happen when you start to work with Reiki, have a Reiki attunement, go to a Reiki 1 class, um, and you have a something that's not so common happen. I was chatting with someone this morning, and we were talking about our own personal experiences that wasn't necessarily the norm in terms of opening up certain psychic abilities or certain abilities to kind of drop the veil for the other side. And suddenly you're in the situation whereby you're noticing that there's a lot more activity going on around you in terms of the non-physical realm, right? And I don't talk about this a lot because people tend to get freaked out, which is why I don't talk about it a lot. But I thought it was worth putting something together just in case you happen to be one of those people, because as we were talking, I realized that sometimes when people have an attunement and then it does open up their sixth sense, if you like, or their psychic abilities, they get really freaked out because they don't know what to do. So then it means that they stop doing Reiki and they close down all of that gift, if you like, or that sensing ability that they have. And on reflection, I thought, well, that's a shame, because actually Reiki can be very powerful in helping you to harness those abilities should you have them. So to start off, if Reiki opens up something like this in you, then you will already have this innate gift. It's not going to suddenly burst out of nowhere. So if you think back to your childhood, like if this has happened to you and you've gone to a Reiki 1 class, or you've gone for an attunement or a healing session, and then suddenly it's kind of like, oh my God, I'm sensing all these energies, I'm sensing dead people, I'm kind of able to get psychic information, I'm kind of freaked out by this. Have just reflect on it a little bit rather than just freaking out, just reflecting back into your childhood or when you were younger. Was this something that felt quite normal to you, and then, or just something that happened to you, and then over time either you closed it down because you realized that other people didn't have the same experience as you, or you closed it down because you got frightened and there was nobody there to help you to develop those skills. So if that is true for you, which it's most likely is, then this is an opportunity for you to grow and develop these skills again. And obviously, if you were younger and it was scary and you're like, well, why would I want to develop that? But actually, there are lots of ways that we can develop our psychic gifts without making it uncomfortable for us. So putting it into the most logical explanation, if you like, is that there are many, many different frequencies. And we as human beings, with our 5 senses, we only actually can pick up on a very small range. And we know that, right? That if you look at the light spectrum, there's an enormous spectrum from UV all the way over to what's the other side of it? Infrared. And then in between, you've got the light spectrum that we can see. But then other animals can see different things. They see different, they access it differently. Obviously, if we do aura camera, that looks at it differently. So we know that within the spectrum of light, there's huge areas that we actually can't see with our eyes, right? And the same for hearing. It's like your hearing changes anyway. As you grow older, your ability to hear higher pitches goes down, and some people have better hearing than others. So within our natural world, we already know that we operate actually in a very kind of small part of what is energetically available, right? Like we can't see the internet around us. We can't hear the conversations that whiz by us. But like we can't access all that stuff, but it is going on, right? We know it's going on because that's the technology that we live in. So just because you can't see or hear or feel something doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? Like that's just so obvious now with our technology. The way things work, everything is wireless, everything is bouncing around on satellites. We're not able to see it, we're not able to feel it, we're not able to kind of touch it. Or so putting that aside, the logical explanation for developing these kinds of skills, whereby you can start to make contact with other energy entities. Now, some of these entities might have passed over already. So, like a medium would be talking to people that have passed over already and are still in some kind of energy form and are trying to get messages to loved ones, right? That's the most basic. But then you've also got different energies, like if you're into angels or you're into crystals or you're into mythical animals, all these kinds of things also operate at a different frequency. And those people who can connect into it really can get a lot of information, a lot of healing. There's all kinds of things. So don't dismiss this just because you yourself are not sure about it or you think it's your imagination. Like there's clearly a lot going on behind the scenes that we really don't understand. But it doesn't mean it's scary, right? It just means that you have a wider energetic breadth than other people. So you're able to view things more broadly. And in general, Reiki will tend to do that. Right? It will bring you into more harmony. It will open you up to things that maybe you weren't able to do before. It will help to increase your energy. And so as you increase your energy, you are more likely to be able to access different levels of energy as well. And to me, that makes perfect sense. And it also bears out in a lot of experiences of my students or people I talk to, and certainly for my own experience as well. So it's not so weird and wonderful. That's the first thing. So if you happen to be one of these people that suddenly you're able to sense more, and it might not be other entities, it might not be dead people, it might not be this kind of thing, but you're suddenly more tuned into people's emotional bandwidth, you're more empathic, you're able to kind of really feel what other people are thinking, what other people are feeling. And it's up to you how you develop that. And I think that's the core thing to realize is that just because you open up a gift or just because Reiki offers you this gift, like opens it up for you, doesn't mean that you have to do what you discover, right? Just because you run fast, it doesn't mean you have to become an athlete. Just because you're really good at a particular sport doesn't mean you have to go and become a pro. So the thing to remember in all of this is we have choice. And there are many, many people doing mediumship, doing psychic work, doing, spiritual healing, working with different energies, working with angels, working with mythical creatures, whatever. There's already loads of people doing that. So you don't have to do that unless it's something that interests you. And if it does interest you, then you also get to explore that on your own terms. So just because you have a kind of growth in terms of your psychic skills or your emotional skills or your energetic skills where you can feel a lot more of what's going on, it's still up to you the way that you expand that. And that just means that you have to be very clear in yourself what it is that you're allowing and what it is you don't want, and what it is you want to learn more about. And that is a request. Right. So the way you can think about it is if you have started to notice that you become more sensitive to different energies, maybe you hear voices, maybe you can see certain apparitions and stuff like this. Now, when I say this, people freak out, okay? But if you have never experienced this yourself, then you will think, oh my God, they're having a psychic episode, it's not like that at all. It's not a scary thing. And it's also not that weird. It's like, well, like honestly, just listen to the telepathy tapes because The autistic kids are doing it already, and they've always been doing it. And so we can do it too. It's not just you have to be autistic to do that. No, they're just a lot more tapped in than we are. So it's a lot easier for them. But anybody who has that kind of crossover or has that capacity can open up with Reiki, right? So first of all, it's not that weird. And it's, second of all, you don't have to use it. So just be reassured by that. Just because something opens, if you just don't use it much, if like, let's say you are a really fast runner, if you just don't train and you don't do a lot of running and you don't do a lot of training and exercise, then your running's going to slowly just become more normal, right? You might have an aptitude for it. You might be able to beat the average person really well, but you kind of have to use it and build it in order for it to become more stable. So if you're interested in making it more stable, then go and learn about it, right? Go and research it. Go and find a teacher who teaches mediumship or who teaches you how to develop your psychic abilities or whatever. But if you're not interested in it, it doesn't mean you have to stop doing Reiki, because Reiki is just opening the door. It's basically saying, hey, this is part of your natural innate gift. This is part of your unique expression in this world. You have this ability to do that. And if you would like to do that, it's open. But equally valid is for you to maybe have an insight and realize that, oh, there's a lot more going on here than I realized before. You did realize it before, by the way. Like, if you're really honest with yourself, you absolutely knew that this was all going on behind the scenes, but you'd put a lid on it, or you closed yourself down, or you were just like in denial. I don't know. In general, when I talk to people who open up, they're like, yeah, okay, you got me there. I kind of knew that this stuff was going on in the background, or I remember it from childhood, or I remember being able to do this and then being told off, for example, or being told that it was your imagination, or being told that you were weird, or being told that you were wrong, right? So that often happens to us when we're children, and then we close it down because we get scared. But now you're an adult and it's opening up again, and it's an opportunity for you to look into it more deeply if you want to. And if you don't want to, then you just say no. Like clearly say no. So it's like, actually, I'm not going to develop the skill. I'm not going to develop this, and I'd rather not be disturbed and whatever. So for example, for me, I have very strict boundaries around it. So I don't just go around poking my nose in other people's business when I talk to people face to face or on the phone, or when I'm just with them in general as friends or acquaintances, or just having a chat. I'm not sitting in there opening up all my senses and digging around in there, because it's none of my business. I don't want to know. Like, I don't really care that much. And so it really just shuts down. But then what the opportunity that I ask for is that, okay, if I am doing a healing for this person, if this person is a paying client and there is actually information to be given and the client wants that information, then I'm open to it. And then what happens is, as soon as I connect in with the Reiki, then all the information starts to come up, and I get a lot of interaction with that person's energy field, and sometimes with the spirit team, sometimes with loved ones that have passed. Like, all kinds of things can happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm very clear that that's the only time I'm really open to it. The rest of the time, I'm not. I want five senses stuff. Every now and again, something really urgent will come in, but it's pretty rare, because I have decided that's what my boundary is. I'm not interested in being a psychic. I'm not interested in being a medium. I'm quite happy with just doing Reiki, teaching Reiki, and uncovering, like, what is the truth beyond all of the five senses and the sixth sense and whatever, because there is a bigger connection, there's a bigger truth that combines it all, and the whole psychic, spiritual, yada yada, being able to see auras, all this stuff it's not special. It doesn't mean that you've progressed, actually. It just means that you've kind of opened up to the skills that you had as a child. And some of us have it and some of us don't. So don't freak out if you don't get anything and you're like, I want to have that. It's not a big deal. It's literally like, I need glasses. I need two pairs of glasses now. I need short-sighted and long-sighted. But some people have 20/20 vision, right? And yeah, I could be jealous about that. I'm like, oh, I wish I had 20/20 vision. But I'm not going to get 20/20 vision just by doing my Reiki, right? Like, some people are born with certain genetic predispositions and some people aren't. So you just suck it up. It is what it is. But if you are one of these people who can tap into this, and if you're curious and interested about it, then go and find out about it. And if you're not curious and interested, then you have full rights to just shut that part of it down, right? And it's pretty simple. It's like clear boundaries, and just having clear boundaries in yourself. So when things start to happen around you, it's like, no, this is not part of the deal. This is not part of the thing that I want to explore. But anything else, just drop a comment or contact me. I'm really happy to help people, because sometimes there's just these little shifts in perspective that really helps people accept what's going on and then relax. It's not scary, it's not dangerous, there's nothing bad happening to you. The bad thing is the old fear, actually. So oftentimes when we start to notice, you get the hairs on the back of your neck standing up and you're like, because you remember perhaps how frightened you were as a child, or you remember how freaked out the adults were, right? When you used to talk about your invisible friend or whatever it is you were going on about. And so now as an adult, you can look at it again clearly without fear. It's just microwaves, right? It's different energies, it's different dimensions. All of this stuff is happening. And so it's exploring that or not. But if it does open up in you, don't let it scare you. It's perfectly normal, it's perfectly fine. And if you're really honest with yourself, you've kind of known this. You've known this energy for quite some time. And so I would always say open up to it, because it's very interesting. But if you don't want to, that's also perfectly fine. So I know I've kind of gone round and round in circles a little bit, but maybe that helps. And maybe sometimes it's just the conversation, just having the open conversation so that you feel free to drop a comment or contact me. And yeah, and I'll just try and give you whatever help I can. All right, then, take care, everybody. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye.